Weak Boy is the only one that can level up, so he becomes the strongest with all stats maxed out. Jinwo is an ugly, disgusting loser with nothing on his life. His father went to buy milk and his mother is in a coma. This leaves him a broke, useless guy who will do anything to feed his younger sister. 10 years ago, huge gates appeared all around the planet, releasing several monsters. Humanity had no chance to fight back as weapons didn't deal any damage. However, some humans awakened some powers and became known as hunters. Hunters are classified based on their magical power from E rank to S rank. And since they cannot level up or increase their rank, they can only be stronger by getting better gear. Until this day, humans still clear those gates called dungeons in order to get magic crystals which can be sold for profit. We then see Jinwo arrive to a dungeon site where everyone greets him. Upon noticing this, one of the hunters asks him if Jinwo is someone strong. Yet Kim replies that Jinwo is famous for being the weakest hunter of all mankind who once went to hospital while raiding the weakest dungeon. While walking, Jinwo hears Juhi's voice asking why he's covered in bandages. Jinwo explains her that he got hurt during his last raid, mostly because there wasn't a healer in the party. Juhi complains that's reckless, but Jinwo admits that it's his fault because he's weak. They're called as the raid is about to start and Song, an experienced hunter, promises to lead the party. As Jinwo is about to enter the gate, he pulls out his knife E rank. This is the only piece of equipment he can afford, but still, he will give his best today and enters the dungeon. Once inside, Jinwo manages to defeat a goblin and gets its crystal. Suddenly, Goblin attacks him, but he manages to block the attack. The goblin continues attacking, but he evades everything. He tries to attack, however, when he does, his garbage knife breaks, allowing the goblin to stab him. Another hunter comes to defeat the goblin and Juhi heals Jinwo. Minutes later, the group manages to defeat the dungeon boss, but Jinwo is being healed once again. He was the only person who got injured in this party. She wants to know why he's trying to be a hunter so bad despite being weak, but Jinwo just apologizes. The group is dividing the drops until someone notices another entrance nearby. Everyone is confused, but Song reveals that sometimes there is double dungeons. They decide to explore it despite being against the rules. In this situation, they should usually report to the Hunter Association, however, that will mean they will lose all drops. Since this is a D rank gate, they think it should be fine and decide to vote if they should try the second boss or not. The vote is a draw, with Juhi being one of the 6 who said no. The last vote is Jinwo's, the 13th party member. Jinwo knows that this dungeon is dangerous for him, but he needs the money. He wants to send his younger sister through college and must also pay his mother's treatment fees. Therefore, to protect his family, he votes yes. With that decision, the group moves forward to explore the dungeon. Juhi uses this time to complain about his desire for death and flirts with him, making him promise to take her out for dinner. The group then reaches a big door, which confuses everyone because there's no boss rooms with doors. They think this is strange, but since they're all greedy, they decide to step in. The torches all around the room start to light up. The group see several statues standing around the room, and Jinwo notices another one sitting on what it seems to be a throne. Jinwo thinks this one is the bigger one, but the group starts to mention how they feel like they're being watched. They then notice something strange. There are no monsters inside the room. Song then notices the floor and sees what it seems to be a magic circle. Kim calls Song out, mentioning there is a statue with something written. Everyone gets near the angel statue and notice the inscription. Song reads it out loud, mentioning those are the commandments of the Kartanen Temple. First, they must worship God. Second, praise the god. Third, believe in God. And those who don't obey should die. Juhi freaks out and calls Jinwo, mentioning the eyes of the giant statue moved and looked at them. Jinwo says she must be imagining. Suddenly, the door closes. Everyone freaks out and someone tries to run to the doors to escape. He touches the door and suddenly a statue moves and slices his head off. Everyone starts screaming and Jinwo falls into despair, thinking the guy who just died is a lot stronger than him. He doesn't understand why this monster could be in a D rank dungeon. Jinwo then looks at the bigger statue, paying attention to every detail until he sees its eyes moving to look at him. Jinwo starts having a flashback about the moments he faced life and death situations. Since he was broke and weak, he had to look for loopholes to survive. He had to observe everything in detail to get his chance. Upon returning to reality, Jinwo shouts at them to get down. The huge statue shoots a laser beam with its eyes, killing several hunters. Luckily, Jinwoo managed to save Juhee, but she's panicking in fear. He looks around confused about what happened and how they ended up like this. He knows they're trapped and cannot escape. Upon looking around, everyone's minds only think about running. Yet Song orders them to stand still because if they get up, they will be attacked. Juhee is still shaking in fear and Jinwoo tries to calm her down. Song approaches Jinwoo and tells that if he didn't warn them, everyone would be dead by now. He asks how Jinwoo knew about it, but he replies that he just sensed danger. Jinwoo then notices that Song's arm is missing, but the old man says it's okay and asks him to stop the bleeding. Jinwoo warps bandages around Song's arm, who explains that usually he would ask Juhee to heal him, but she cannot deal with frightening situations. For that reason, she's only going on easy raids despite being a B rank healer. Song also reveals that he's been into some B rank raids, but knows that this place must be in a rank dungeon. But he then corrects himself, saying this is an S rank dungeon. He then remembers the angel statue and the commandments of the Kartanen temple. He repeats the commandments, and Jinwoo thinks the god mentioned on those rules is the big statue. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's younger sister Jinha is at school talking to her friend Song Yi, who missed the early classes. However, Song Yi ignores her question and asks if Jinha's brother is a hunter. Jinha confirms but mentions that despite Jinwoo's improved body as a hunter, he always suffers injuries. Back in the dungeon, Song tells Jinwoo it's a bad idea to fight the statue, and they should find a way to escape. However, there's a brain-damaged guy who refuses to die like this. He starts powering up his power, mentioning he just signed a contract with a major guild and won't die here. Song orders the guy to not move, however the guy starts running forward, mentioning that he's confident that he's faster against every single opponent. He runs toward the door, but the huge statue looks at him. In the end, his body disappears, only leaving his feet. Everyone starts to panic, and Jinwoo mentions the statues could easily kill everyone inside. Song confirms it, making Jinwoo wonder why the statue hasn't killed them yet. Usually, monsters attack them blindly, but the statue isn't. He then thinks about the commandments and asks Song what was the first one. Song replies it's to worship the god. With those words, Jinwoo thinks this dungeon has some special rules. He gets up with a plan, which initially Song tries to stop him. But after seeing the look in Jinwoo's eyes, Song is sure that he hasn't given up in life. With courage, Jinwoo gets up and notices the statue preparing to attack. He suddenly kneels down and notices the statue stopped the attack. He tells everyone to kneel down to the statue, making everyone confused. Song asks if he figured something out, and Jinwoo confirms it, mentioning that as long as their heads are below a certain height, the statue won't attack. In short, this is what the first commandment means. He then bows down, and Song asks if he's sure. Jinwoo thinks he is, and everyone follows his movements. Everyone questions if they will be able to survive by doing this, but the statue's eyes deactivate. Suddenly, the statue starts smiling, making everyone afraid of its expression. They realize the statue isn't attacking them, and one of the guys gets up and starts celebrating because the statue won't attack them. The others get up, thinking they're saved, but Jinwoo knows this isn't over yet. Suddenly, the huge statue gets up, and they scream because they thought this was all over. Song asks Jinwoo what to do next, but our boy doesn't know yet. The statue starts walking forward, and Jinwoo mentions that they cannot violate the commandments. He then tells everyone the second commandment to praise the god. Everyone is confused on how they should do it, but another guy steps forward. He claims that he knows how to praise God because of his traditional folklore research. In short, this guy kneels and starts praying. The statue starts to slow down and looks at the guy. However, Jinwoo senses something strange because those are not the words to praise this god. The statue smiles as it lifts its foot while the guy continues praying. In the end, the statue steps on top of him. Everyone panics and starts running, but the statue continues stepping on top of some others. The statue starts chasing everyone, and one of the guys runs near a statue. His friend tries to warn him to look out behind, but that statue moves and slices him in half. Jinwoo takes Juhee to run while thinking about how they can praise the god. She's still panicking, and he thinks that he needs to save her. He looks around to the other statues and compares their weapons, until he notices there are some statues with some musical instruments. After a quick thinking, he yells at everyone to get under the statues that have them. Song is confused but follows the orders. The statue starts playing the instrument, and Song tells everyone to follow the advice as those statues won't attack them. More people get under those statues and feel relieved because they have been spared. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and Juhee manage to reach a statue, but it doesn't play. Jinwoo quickly understands the statue won't play because two persons cannot be under the same statue. He orders Juhee to stay under this statue while he goes to the next one. She tries to stop him, but he runs as the huge statue chases him. Juhee's statue starts playing the instrument and Jinwoo finds the next one. He's almost stepped by the huge statue, but he manages to avoid rolling towards another one. This statue has a shield who also tries to kill him. Juhee starts screaming his name, but Jinwoo managed to avoid fatal damage. He slowly crawls to the next statue, determined to not give up. The huge statue is still walking behind him and prepares to step on him. Suddenly, the statue Jinwoo was crawling to start singing. The huge statue barely missed his body, but Jinwoo feels relieved as he made it. He thinks this is the answer to praise God, and the huge statue sits down on its throne. Juhee runs towards him and asks if he's fine. Jinwoo confirms, but upon looking down, notices that he lost. She tries to heal him with all her power, but he says that he's okay. She refuses to stop, but she ends using so much of her power and she starts coughing blood. The group looks around and thinks this is tragic. Yet, despite Song losing one of his arms, some members who voted yes blame him for this situation. Song apologizes for forcing them into a decision and decides to bear all responsibility. Jinwoo watches the discussion and thinks this is not the time to argue with each other because there's still one last commandment. The statue suddenly raises its, and an altar raises in the middle of the room. Everyone is confused, but Jinwoo replies that's a common thing in mythology. In short, the statue wants them to make a living sacrifice to the god. That's the final commandment, to believe in God. Everyone gets shocked, but one of the members who voted yes reveals that he knows what this means. He grabs his sword and points at Song, mentioning they need a sacrifice. He goes on to blame Song because his friend wanted to provide for his family and got sliced in half. And since Song claimed that he would take responsibility, he wants Song to sacrifice himself for all the lives they lost. With those words, Song decides to accept his fate as the party leader. He walks toward the altar. Upon reaching close to the altar, a flame appears. Everyone is confused, but Song asks Jinwoo what he needs to do. Jinwoo is still confused about this, thinking they don't need a living sacrifice. He apologizes for the inconvenience and asks if they can take him to the altar so that he can check it. When the three reach near the altar, 3 more flames appear. Song asks if he has figured out something, but Jinwoo hasn't. He wonders if someone will come to rescue them if they wait there. Song explains that since this dungeon has been around for 7 days, the Hunter Association will probably take some actions before they come to rescue them. Jinwoo thinks that if they fail here, this huge statue will run wild into their world. Meanwhile, Jinna goes to the hospital to visit her mother like she does every day. She talks about her day and how her friend was late and her future plans. Back inside the dungeon, Jinwoo tells Juhee and the top anime betrays to come to the altar. Despite hesitation, the two step inside, making 2 more flames appear. Suddenly, the altar unleashes some electricity and a new ring of blue flames appear around. The dungeon door suddenly opens up, making everyone worried because this could be a trap. One of the blue flames disappears and the statues start to light up and move forward. They all start to freak out while Jinwoo looks around and notices a strange mechanic. He tells everyone to not close their eyes and look at the statues because they will stop moving. In short, this is basically a game where they all must keep their eyes on those statues. Everyone follows his instructions and the statues stop moving. However, some members are too anxious and start running away from the circle. One of the normal flames extinguished, but she managed to leave the room. The door, however, is starting to close. Song asks Jinwoo if he knows what happened, but he's confused. He thinks about the 3 commandments and thinks the door is a trap because the last one is to believe in God. He believes the door is just to give them a false sense of hope because they're afraid. This is a way to test everyone's faith in the statue. However, another guy also gives into this hope and throws Jinwoo aside before running toward the door. More people think about leaving, but Jinwoo explains that if someone else leaves, the statues will able to move because of a blind spot. Song wants a better explanation, to which Jinwoo replies they cannot move their eyes from the statues. He explains that the blue flames extinguish, everyone will be able to escape. Yet, there are members who think that if the flames go out, they will be locked inside. The guy reveals he didn't expect Jinwoo, the weakest hunter, to be the most useful one. He thanks him for allowing them to survive, but the guy starts to cry and apologizes before running away. Jinwoo starts crying, asking why they betrayed him. He refuses to give up and desires to survive by quickly looking at every statue. Yet, Song orders Juhee and Jinwoo to escape while he stays behind. He thinks that as long as one person stays behind, the door won't close. However, Juhee's legs give up. Upon hearing those words, Jinwoo tells Song to take Juhee and leave. Song tries to refuse, but Jinwoo gets angry and shouts that he has no foot, so he cannot help her. She starts complaining, but Song knocks her out because they're running out of time. Song then carries Juhee outside the door, making Jinwoo relieved because he's the only one who will die. He notices a sword on the ground and picks it up while the statues continue walking. He raises it, promising that he will take one of them to be his best buddy in hell. The statues start attacking him, but he manages to dodge. The statues attack him, making him lose one arm, followed by several other attacks. He shouts in pain, mentioning that he also wanted to become stronger, but he can't. After several attacks, he's barely alive, but refuses to give up. The statues stab his shoulder, and he remembers those who just betrayed him, trying to justify it by mentioning their family. This is all selfishness because he also has a family that he wants to return and take care. In the end, the statue lifts him into the air and throws him into the altar, while preparing for the last attack. He cries as he doesn't want to die and wishes one last chance. As the statue is about to slice him, the last blue flame goes out. A system message appears asking if he wants to become a player. He says yes. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.